What's going on, IG? I'm gonna give everybody a second to check in here. Instagram says they are letting my followers know that I have started a live video. So I'm gonna give Instagram a second to tell my followers that I've started a live video. See if we can get in here, have a quick conversation. I don't have a ton of time here. We go about 20 minutes. I usually go longer. I can go 3 hours on a live, depending on the topic. If I have an engaged audience, but we'll see how this one goes here today. Shout out to Atlanta. Shout out Atlanta. Made a lot of money in Atlanta. As y'all checking in, shout yourselves out. Tell me your name and location, your actual name and your location. Shout yourselves out in the comments section. We're gonna get into it. I'm gonna take like 2 minutes to let people introduce themselves. I'm gonna introduce the topic, talk about it a little bit. I don't think I'm gonna get into the whole thing here, but I'll tell you where I will get into the whole thing, and then we'll get to wherever we get to. We'll go to it, like I said, about 4:15. It's 3:56 right now. As y'all checking in, tell me your name and location in the comment section. Then we'll get into what we're going to get into. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete, author of 29 books, creator of this whole brand and business and philosophy, this framework called The Third Day. It's all about taking the pro athlete mentality, the strategies, the attributes you need to make it as an athlete at the pro level, and applying those tools at work and in everyday life. What we're going to talk about here today, as y'all can see in the title, is how we bring manliness back, because I feel like it's slipping away. It's slipping away, I would say slowly, but it's actually happening pretty quickly. So this is an emergency situation we're dealing with right here. Shout out Michael Jefferson, entrepreneur from Atlanta, Georgia. Shout out to all the entrepreneurs out there making it happen, eating what you kill. AJ from Baltimore was good. Cam from Rhode Island. Shout out to Rhode Island. Scott from West Hartford, Connecticut. Shout out to New England. So we got New England in the house. Karan from Toronto. Shout out to Toronto. It's cold in Toronto, but I like Toronto too. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody up there in Canada. Shout out to the truckers out there in Canada, because the truckers out there in Canada show some balls, and we need people in America to have balls like they did. But anyway, we might get into that, we might not. But anyway, this is what I want to talk about real quick. And if it's time, I might take a couple questions. But like I said, we got a ton of time. I want to talk about bringing manliness back. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with me, I got a podcast that comes out every day. I call mine a masterclass, but some of y'all might call it a podcast. It's called Work on Your Game. And in a couple episodes of my show, episode 1841, I talked about how the man is being emasculated these days. And in episode 1863, I talked about how we actually bring masculinity back, because we do need to bring it back. Justin Timberlake had a song called Bringing Sexy Back. Now we need to bring masculinity back. And this is not just for the men. For the ladies out there who are watching this, we need to bring masculinity back, not just to benefit men. We need to bring it back to benefit the women, because the women need feminine women need a masculine balance, just like masculine men need a feminine balance. And if we don't have this balance in our society, then we end up having chaos and we end up having problems. And right now, we got a lot of problems going on, and I think these problems are only getting worse simply because I'm seeing a lot of stuff that's led to this conversation. And just to let y'all know, since like I said, I'm not going to go super long on this, I'm going to do a whole full context, full detail, everything podcast episode on this exact point. So everything I'm saying here that I don't get into in detail, I'm going to do a whole podcast episode on this exact topic, which is about bringing manliness back. I already did how we bring masculinity back. I'm going to do another one on how we bring manliness back. So y'all get it in a minute. Shout out to Arbin, what's good? I don't know why you got a mask on in your profile picture, but shout out to you either way. Shout out to everybody with a mask on in their profile picture. Anyway, there's a few things that have happened recently that got me thinking about this. First of all, we got a lot of the feminization of the sports world. Now, I come from playing sports. Now, I played basketball, but I pay attention. I know what's going on in all kinds of different sports, even though basketball is the one that I follow the most. But we get a lot of feminization going on in sports. And when I say feminization, I want y'all to understand something. Feminization does not mean girls. Feminization is an energy. All right? All sports are inherently masculine, because masculinity is about winning, is about achievement, is about beating the person next to you, is about striving, it's about being on top, being number one. All of those are masculine traits. So even if you're a female who's watching this right now and you play sports, sports are masculine. Like, sport itself is masculine. Basketball is masculine. Tennis is masculine. Swimming is masculine. All of these sports are masculine because you're competing and you're trying to win. Competing and trying to win are masculine traits in and of themselves. So even a female basketball player, there's masculine energy that you have to go out there and compete and try to beat the other girls at that sport. In tennis, I don't care, field hockey, whatever, you are trying to compete and beat other people. That's a masculine trait. So when I'm seeing a lot of feminization happening in sports, for example, a couple weeks ago, if you follow basketball, you know Russell Westbrook of the LA Lakers. I saw he made a big shot last night, so hopefully that helps him. But one of the things that he was saying was he didn't like the fact that people were calling him Westbrook, which is like a play on his name because he isn't making any shots and he's having a terrible season. Yeah, he made that big shot last night. He's still having a terrible season. And the Lakers, they needed that shot to even get the overtime against the Raptors. And they're not going to do too much this season. But anyway, he was saying, well, my wife is feeling bad and my kids are feeling bad because people are saying Westbrook. So I'm not going to let people say Westbrook anymore because it's disrespectful to me and you're harming my family. And I'm like, what is this? That's such feminine energy that he was displaying when he made that statement. Even though Russell Westbrook projects himself as this confident, bold guy, when he did that, he lost his entire masculine frame because what he was doing was he was holding up his wife and his kids as a shield for his own poor performance. The fact that he's playing poorly is the reason why people start saying Westbrook, not because they were trying to hurt him, not because they're trying to harm his wife or his family, and his wife talking about death wishes. Like, come on, somebody on Twitter don't even got a profile picture that says something about I hope you die, so now that's a death wish. Now we supposed to take that as a serious thing? Like, no, that's feminine energy. When this guy, he's been a trash talker himself. When he scores on people, he had the rock the baby thing. When Kevin Durant left OKC, he promoted and co-signed the whole cupcake thing they did about Kevin Durant. Now they're calling him Westbrook because he's having a terrible season, and he is. Now he wants to say, well, I'm gonna put the kibosh on anybody saying you can't call me Westbrook anymore. Like, that's feminine energy. Another one is Naomi Osaka, who is a female, and like I just said, all sports are masculine, inherently masculine, because it's all about winning and dominating and beating your opponent and competing. Those are masculine traits. So when you play a sport, you have to have some masculine energy in you. And all humans have both masculine and feminine energy. Men have feminine energy, women have masculine energy, and we all have different levels of it. But Naomi Osaka is a tennis player, and for what I understand, she's actually pretty good. Now, I don't follow tennis at all, but I understand she is actually a pretty good player, right? She's not only getting attention because she's, I believe, partially black, and she was doing all the woke stuff with the names of the people on her mask and stuff that year. I know she did that to draw some attention to herself, but she actually has some skill, right? Now, she just lost a tennis match earlier this week, and at the end of the match, when she lost, usually they talk to the person who won. She asked to get on the mic, and she gets on the mic and says, well, one person in the crowd said, Naomi, you suck, in the middle of the match. They made me feel bad, and she's crying at the end of the match. And I'm like, all right, now, listen, I don't know the tennis world. I never played tennis, but I would think that if you play enough tennis that you're going to get trash talked to you at some point, even though tennis and a sport like golf, they're nothing like basketball. In basketball, when you play, anybody in the crowd can say pretty much anything that they want. That's slowly going away because now you got players like pointing out fans, getting them kicked out because they don't like what the fans are saying. It's been mostly LeBron James, so we ain't going to get into that here today. That's another part of the feminization of what's going on in sports. But Naomi Osaka, I'm sure she's had somebody say something to her that was worse than, Naomi, you suck. But she got on the mic and made news about this. It's not the fact that she was upset that somebody said that she sucks. Actually, that is part of it. Like, somebody said you suck. That's what they said, and that's what you're getting upset about? You suck? Like, they could have came up with something way better than that. All the time they had to think about it. But the fact that first of all, you allowed that to upset you, and then secondly, the biggest part about this, the feminization of it, is the fact that she grabbed the mic and made news about this because nobody knew about it. The cameras didn't catch it. Nobody had said anything that this had even happened. The only reason that we know that this occurred is because Naomi Osaka went and made a news story about this. Hey, somebody said, Naomi, you suck during the match, and it made me upset, and people shouldn't say bad stuff like that. And then the crowd gave her a round of applause, and now she's going to get I don't follow any of these people on social media, but I'm sure she got a bunch of people tweeting her and texting her and emailing her and offering their support, like, you're strong, you're great, don't worry about the haters and all of that stuff. And it seems like that's maybe the main reason why these people even do this stuff, just so they can get a round of applause and some sympathy, and they can take their victory lap of sympathy by being victims on social media. And this is what I mean when I say the feminization of these areas of life that have traditionally been masculine. So we don't have this masculine energy going around anymore. And I think this is going to become a pervasive problem if we're not doing anything about it and nobody's stepping up or speaking up about it. Then you have a situation of this woman named Leah Thomas. All right, Leah Thomas is, for those of you who don't know who Leah Thomas is, you might not know, because Leah Thomas' actual name is William Matthew Thomas, or Matthew William Thomas, one of those, was a man on a swim team at the University of Pennsylvania, Ivy League college, D1 sport. And at 21 years old, after their junior year, William Matthew Thomas decided to become Leah Thomas. In other words, transitioned from being a man to being a woman. Went from the men's swim team to the women's swim team. And Leah Thomas just beat all the girls in swimming this year. Just won the NCAA championships, won the gold medal in several competitions at the women's NCAA swimming championships. This just happened this week. And the reason why many of you might not even be familiar with this and not even know that it's happening is that all your favorite sports people who talk about sports all day, every day, your Stephen A. Smiths, Jay Williams, Jalen Rose, everybody on ESPN, most of the people on Fox Sports, what's the dude's name? Skip Bayless. I don't know if Marcellus has said anything, but I like Marcellus Wallace. He hasn't said much about it. All these guys in mainstream sports, none of them are saying anything about this. No news stories about it. No segments on First Take about it. You're not hearing anybody talk about this on their podcast. All these people who allegedly were speaking up for women, protect women, the Me Too movement, believe all women. We have to affirm women. Women can be leaders. We have to respect our women, protect our women, defend our women. Women, women this, women that, women everything. Now you got a man who decides to become a woman, is kicking all the women's asses in swimming. None of them have said a damn word about it. How is that possible? Somebody tell me how that's possible. The reason why that's happening is because most of these guys who have stepped up and allegedly shown you their wokeness and how much they want to defend women, they aren't real activists. You see, real activism is not about only speaking up when it's convenient. Real activism is not only saying something when you know you're speaking on a subject that is going to be defended and is going to be accepted by the mainstream or be accepted by your bosses. Real activism means at some point you're going to say something that people don't agree with. At some point you're going to say something that people ain't feeling you about. At some point you're going to say something that might get you in a little bit of hot water. But see, here's the problem with the Stephen A. Smiths of the world and the Skip Baylesses of the world and these guys who project themselves as being woke and speaking up for being a voice for the voiceless, all these people, even Naomi Osaka, Serena Williams, all these people, all the players in the WNBA. Then they dedicate their whole season to Breonna Taylor. When she died a couple of years ago, they dedicated their whole season to Breonna Taylor, a woman who never played any sport in her life. They dedicated their whole season to her. Now you got women getting their asses kicked in a sport, in swimming. I ain't heard a WNBA player say nothing. I ain't heard Stephen A. Smith say anything. Why is this? It's because these people have jobs, they have bosses, and they only speak up on subjects that their bosses tell them is okay for them to speak up on. That's why they're not actual activists. See, to be a real activist, you can't have a boss. To be a real activist, you can't have somebody telling you what you can say and what you can't say. And you can't pick and choose your topics based on what's comfortable for you and what's safe for you. And that's what a lot of these folks do. So when y'all turn on ESPN and you turn on CNN and you read the New York Times and Fox, even Fox Sports, even those platforms, it doesn't matter what side they're on. When you have a boss that can tell you what you can say and what you can't say, it's very hard to be an activist, because at some point you're going to say something that your boss ain't feeling. If you say something that your boss is not feeling, your boss will say, well, don't say that, or your boss will say, take that down. What you going to do? If you're a real activist and your answer to your boss is, well, sorry, boss, but I got to speak up and say the truth. If you're just taking that, you're doing what you got to do to collect a check, like Stephen A. Smith, then you're going to say what the bosses tell you to say, and you're going to be quiet when the bosses tell you to shut up. Like, all the football players that got on ESPN and cried. You remember when Randy Moss was crying? What was the other dude that played for the Steelers? Ryan Clark was crying. Kirk Herbstreit was crying. These dudes get on ESPN and cry because ESPN told them to get on there and cry. Who was the kid in Wisconsin? White kid, Kyle Rittenhouse shoots 3 white people in Wisconsin. He's white. He shoots 3 white people. ESPN does a segment on their show with Malika Andrews, Richard Jefferson, and Kendrick Perkins, 3 black people, and they're talking about what the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict, what impact that had on black people in America. What the hell does a white dude shooting 3 white people got to do with black people? Somebody explain to me why black people need to make a comment on white people. It's basically white on white crime. All right, why do they got to have 3 black people who play basketball talking about that? It makes no sense whatsoever. The whole point is, and I need y'all to understand this, and I'm not telling you what opinion to have. I'm hoping that y'all understand that when you turn on the TV and you look at these folks on these platforms who work for these companies, that they are compromised. They can only say what their bosses allow them to say, and they got to be quiet when their bosses tell them to be quiet. So when they talk as if they're some kind of activist or they're speaking up for certain subjects, they only speak up on the subjects that their bosses tell them is okay to speak up on, and they shut up when their bosses tell them to shut up. And that's what it is. So do not be fooled by any of these people when they talk all loud about subjects that their bosses said is all right, but then they're quiet on these other subjects. How ESPN hasn't done a single segment on a man turning into a woman and beating all the women in swimming? How have they not spoken on this? But they changed all of their regularly scheduled programming to talk about George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Kyle Rittenhouse. 3 people ain't have nothing to do with sports at all, but they won't talk about something that's actually happening in sports. Did any of y'all notice that? So that's part of, first of all, y'all just got to understand what happens in the mainstream. We can't believe it anymore. And there are too many men who seem to be all too comfortable just following behind and getting behind and following behind females these days. And I don't think that's the natural order of the way things are going to work. And I told y'all, just to be clear, if any of you came in the middle of me talking here, I'm going to do a whole podcast episode on this subject, but it was just something I was thinking about today, so that's why I'm talking about it here on this live. I'm not going to go into my full detail here, but I will on my podcast. So if you haven't tuned into my show, it's called Work on Your Game. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play. Y'all know where to find podcasts. Just look up Work on Your Game podcast and type in my name, and you'll see it. So a few topics. First of all, let's go back to just the beginning of everything. All right. No matter what your religion is, I do not claim any specific religion, but we know the story of Adam and Eve, right? Adam, God made a man. Then he said, all right, well, I'm going to give the man a companion, so he made Eve. The whole order of things, the way it started out, was the man is here and the woman was created to support the man. Now, any of you women who are watching this right now, let me be clear. Because I know the whole feminism movement, there are some people who might not even like the sentence that I just gave. The whole natural order of things is for the man to take the lead role, and the woman's role is in support of a man. That is not a negative thing. It doesn't mean a woman is lesser. It doesn't mean a woman can't have power. It doesn't mean a woman can't do anything, or that she doesn't have a say, or that she doesn't have a voice. But the natural role of things is the man in the lead and the woman in support. That is the way it was created. All right. Again, any of you who's ever read the Bible, you can't contest that story. Now, I don't know what other story you got or wherever you got it from. That is the natural order of things. And the way that things went wrong here, if any of you know the story of Adam and Eve, God said, all right, do not eat any fruit. All right, so as soon as I start telling that story, my connection went out for a second. Y'all tell me if that's a coincidence. The devil in the form of a serpent said to Eve, eat the apple. Nothing's going to happen. No bad thing. God told you all these bad stuff's going to happen. It's not going to happen. Eat the apple. Eve eats the apple. And what happens? First thing that happens is God says, Adam, where are you? When the woman did the wrong thing, because the man wasn't around making sure that she did the right thing. Again, this is not my story. This is out of the Bible, folks. Don't get mad at me. Don't shoot the messenger. God said, Adam, the man, where are you? Because you're supposed to be running the operations here. Somebody did something they're not supposed to do. You're the boss. Why are things not going the right way here? Adam wasn't doing his job. So, and the reason when Eve bit into that apple, that's when God said, again, any of you know the story, you can co-sign this, or you can check me if I got it wrong. He said, now all the negatives in the world, all the stuff that we know, bad things that can happen in the world, got released via this story because Eve did the wrong thing, because the man wasn't doing his job of supervising the situation. That's how this all started. When the man did not do his job, the woman tried to do the man's job. She made a mistake, and it messed everything up. Again, I'm not making up. I did not create this story, folks. Do not get mad at me. And this is exactly what happens when people don't play their roles. This has nothing to do with antagonizing women or antagonizing men individually here. When people don't play their roles, what you get is entropy. Entropy is the fourth law of thermodynamics, that when you do not have systems and processes and law and order in place, what results is chaos. Entropy is another word for chaos. Things just go in all different directions, and there's no law, there's no order. For example, any of you, when y'all were in elementary school, remember those days when your teacher didn't come and you had a substitute? What did we do when we knew there was a substitute teacher? We knew it was a play day, right? We knew we could just play around and do whatever the hell we wanted to do because the person who normally kept order wasn't around. That is entropy. That's chaos. When there's nobody there running the show, things go haywire and things go completely out of control. That's what's starting to happen in our society now, because this is not about women. This is about men. That's why this topic is bring manliness back. This is not about anything negative about women. It's about men taking their roles, because when the man plays his role, then the woman can play her role. And there's a lot of women out there who feel like maybe they can't play their role right now because it ain't no men out there playing theirs. So men, when y'all step up and take your position, then we won't have this problem anymore. And again, I'm going to go deep into this on my podcast. I'm going to just skim the surface on this right now. I'm only going to go about 5 more minutes and we're going to wrap this up. The second thing, we get into this whole transgenderism thing. And nowadays with the Leah Thomas, this swimmer, a man, 21 years old, decides now I'm a woman, change the name from Matthew or William, whatever, Matthew William, now all of a sudden becomes Leah, beating all the women in swimming. Nobody's saying anything. Nobody on the women's swim teams can say anything because they're going to get banned and kicked off the team and canceled. You can't even go to the event and root against the woman and say, hey, that's a man. They're going to kick you out of the arena for harmful speech. This is the bullshit that we have going on these days. Listen, if you're born with a penis, you're a man. You are a male. If you're born with a vagina, you are a female. This is not up for debate, and it is not up to you to choose whether you're a male or a female. If you're born with a penis, you are a man. And you grow up, you're a man, or you're a male. You're born with a vagina, you're a female. Now, there are maybe a few exceptions where you're born with neither one or born with both. I don't even know what to call those. But let's just assume most of you have one or the other. All right, and I think all of you are familiar with which one you got. All right, that's what it is. Now, you decide you want to live as you want to change your name from Matthew to Leah, or you can legally change your name. You want people to look at you as a woman instead of being a man, that's fine as well. But at the same time, you can't just go play in a women's sport. What if I decide I'm a female now, and I decide, no, I'm going to come out of retirement and play in the WNBA, and I go win the MVP? Is that okay? What if LeBron James retires from basketball and becomes Lisa James, and then he goes and averages 40 in the WNBA? We're going to give him the trophy and just act like nothing's going on? Everybody's just going to act like this is okay? See, people are pretending to ignore it because it's happening in swimming, and we can ignore swimming. But what about when it happens in basketball? What about when it happens in, what's another sport that, what about when it happens in tennis? What if Rafael Nadal decides he's going to become, Renee Nadal, and just kicks Serena's ass on the tennis mat, 6-0, 6-0. Everybody's just going to act like nothing's going on? We supposed to act like this is cool? This is okay now? I don't understand how people are letting this go. And then here's the problem, that nobody wants to say anything, because then if you speak up against somebody who is trans, then you're transphobic. All right, no, it's not transphobic. The definition of transphobic is having or showing a dislike of or prejudice against transsexual or transgender people. Listen, I don't dislike transgender people. All right, if I assert that you being born with a penis, you have an X and a Y chromosome, that makes you a male. All right, that doesn't mean I dislike you. That means I'm affirming biology. And that means I'm affirming science. What we've been doing for the last 2.5 years, follow the science, right? Where's Dr. Fauci when you need him? All right, now we don't want to follow the science anymore. Now we follow whatever somebody wants. We follow somebody's preference. It was follow the science from 2020, beginning of 2020. Now it's follow the science. But now you assert science. You're born with these chromosomes, and you have a penis. You're a man. You can't just decide one day that you're a woman and then go play against the women in sports. Now you're transphobic. Now you see how they move. You see how they move the goalposts on you whenever they want things to be a certain way. This is what I mean when I say entropy. When you have no law, you have no order. When there are no systems and the systems are not being upheld, the result is chaos. Things just go completely out of order. Things get completely out of control, and then you just get people just doing whatever they want to do, and then things go crazy. All right, any of you ever had a friend who just didn't have any parental guidance growing up? What did they do? They did whatever the hell they wanted to do, and they ended up usually getting in trouble, right? This is how we get teenage pregnancies. This is how people end up in jail. This is how kids end up getting killed, getting into legal situations, getting bad grades in school, getting kicked out of places. Why? Because there's no law and order in their homes. There's no law and order in their life. They have, in the community I come from, especially, I don't know, if you are not black, I don't know what they call it where you grow up, but where I grew up, we called it home training, right? If you had parents at home and your parents made sure you did your homework and you went to bed at night and you got up and went to school in the morning, we call that having home training. Now, having manners, saying please and thank you, knowing how to say excuse me when you bump into somebody or step on somebody's shoe, we call that basic home training. Anybody who didn't have home training, what happened is entropy. That was the result, chaos. They didn't know how to conduct themselves. They acted like they didn't know. They didn't act like they didn't know how to act. Right? That's what we call it. You don't know how to act. You don't know how to act. Usually, the result of that are bad things. Right? And everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about, regardless of where you come from. All right? It's not right that a man can just go compete against women, and this is something that we shouldn't be accepting. The challenge that we have right now is that a lot of people who have voices and people who have platforms aren't using their platforms to speak up against this, but they'll speak up against the stuff that is convenient to speak up against. You see, in the summer of 2020, it was convenient to speak up and take a knee and put your black fist in the air and shout Black Lives Matter and hashtag and say change this and change that. But now that we got some stuff that's a little bit more, there's a little bit more of a fine line. It's not everybody on one side of the conversation, and now you're risking, maybe you're going to get attacked. Now you might piss some people off. Now all of a sudden these activists who said they're going to speak up and use their voices, all of a sudden they're real quiet. Y'all noticing all this? I just want to make sure I'm not the only one who's noticing it. The point is, here's the bottom line, folks. And again, this is the last point that I'm going to make. I'll take a couple questions and I got to wrap up because I got somewhere to be. The man's role is in position of leadership. That's the point here. Ladies, if there's any ladies listening to this, you tell me if you agree or not. There are ladies who are listening to this right now who I'm sure you would be okay if a man would just be a man, a masculine man, and just accept his role as a leader and step up. You wouldn't have any problem being a supporting role to a man. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with supporting somebody when they're in a leadership role. If you're on a basketball team, everybody can't be Jordan. All right, everybody can't be LeBron on the basketball team. Somebody got to be Kyrie. Somebody got to be Anthony Davis. Somebody got to be, who else is on the Lakers? I don't even know. They're not too good this year. But somebody got to be the role players, right? If Michael Jordan's on the team, everybody can't be Mike. All right, you need a Scottie Pippen. You need a Dennis Rodman. You need a Ron Harper. You need a Steve Kerr. You need a Phil Jackson. Everybody can't be the number one person. In every organization, every vehicle. Any of you ever been in a car before? How many steering wheels are there in a car? There's one steering wheel. There's one passenger seat and there's seats in the back. All right, somebody got to take the wheel. Everybody else got to play their position. A man's role, men who are listening to this right now, your role is to step up and lead. If you don't lead, then the women got to step up and play your role. It's unnatural for them, and this is how we get this chaos, because they're playing a role that they shouldn't have to be playing because you're not doing your job. Ladies, if I'm wrong about this, somebody let me know. Now, like I said, I got to go. I got somewhere to be. I got an appointment. But anyway, I just wanted to let this out right here. I might do another live maybe later today or tomorrow. But if y'all want to see me do more lives, y'all let me know. Send me a DM or hit me in a text. My text number is in my profile here on Instagram. My book is The Third Day. Y'all see that pin link right there. But I got a text where I send this text out every single day. I'm going to put a comment right here. That's my text number. If you want to get my text every single day, just hit me at that number. I send out, it's called Daily Motivation, 305-384-6894. But if y'all like these, if y'all like what I was just talking about, I do a podcast every single day where I go deep into this stuff. I'm talking about full context right here. Mostly I'm just talking off the top. But if y'all like this, look at my podcast. It's called Work on Your Game. Comes out every day. But I'm going to get into this, doing more of these. You like this? All right, I appreciate you, Flawed Worshiper. I appreciate all y'all who checked in with this. If y'all are agreeing with the stuff that I'm saying, let me see what's going on here. I see some people said they agree with that. Shout out Just from Brooklyn. Appreciate that. Said you are not free if you have a boss who controls your checks. Well, you're not free to say whatever you want to say. We can definitely say that. And absolutely, simp parenting destination. You're absolutely 100% right about that. And Nigeria was good. Said the more I look at liberal wokeness, yeah, you're 100% right. And a lot of people are getting pushed to that side, not because they necessarily agree with those things, but it's the stuff that's going on right now is pushing us in the wrong direction. It's leading to entropy. So where can I buy your older place? I can't find them any older books. Which books you asking about, CL Keith? Hit me in the DM. I'll tell you where you can find them. But if you go to Mirror Motivation or ThirdDayBook.com, we'll offer you more than one book. So I'll offer you 10 books at the Third Day. We offer you 8 at the Mirror Motivation. But any other one, go to workonyourgame.com/books. That's the link, Keith, where you can get any book. workonyourgame.com/books with an S on the end. That's you can get those. But if y'all like these lives, I might do more of these. Just stay tuned. Just follow me on Instagram, and we'll be up. Everybody have a good Saturday. Work on your game. We out of here.